What's up, everyone? Welcome back to the Real Sports Science Podcast with Matt and David. It's episode 27, and we have another guest interview today. Matt, who do we got on today?
So for episode 28, we have Ollie Clark. He's brought his shoulders today. I can tell you that his shoulders fit the frame quite nicely. In this episode, we talk about his 1-rep maxes, which I'm sure we're all excited to hear about, those big numbers on the bench press. We talk about mental health, eating disorders. I mean, it's just an array of different subjects we cover, don't we, David?
Yeah, really excited for you guys to listen to this. How he got into Strongman, how he got into coaching, some of his goals for this year to make it to World's Strongest Man, which I think it used to be in Miami, but it's somewhere else. Anyways, you got to listen to figure that out. So this is an exciting episode. It's definitely the strongest man, pun intended, that we've had on the podcast. This is the Real Sports Science Podcast. He's Matt. I'm David. Let's go. All right. First of all, taste of the week. We got another taste of the week coming up here from CNP, brought to you by CNP. What we need though? You know what we need? What I think we need for taste of the week? We need a little taste of the
tissue
week.
right now.
We need taste of the week jingle is what we need. We need a little taste of the week jingle, I think. This is what we need, right? What do we got today? Whoops. My cord is just in the way. We need a bit of a taste of the Taste of the Week, brought to you by CNP.
Jeez. Imagine that. Unreal.
Right. What do we got? What do we got today, Matt? As I'm mixing it up.
Nice. See that? Pretty, mate. The color matches.
Oh, look at that
TJ
matching. Honestly, put that up.
We've got.
Loaded EAA. Big juicy melons, which is pretty topical now. Speaking of the size.
No, I know. Every time I'm looking at
Ollie's
this, I keep reminding me of Ollie's arms. Seeing Ollie's arms in this.
Big
Unreal.
juicy
Massive. All right. Well, I think we're blowing too much smoke up Ollie's arse now.
Yeah.
Are we tasting this
Quick
at the
shake.
same time, big man?
Yes. Yeah. Give it a smell first. Wow. It smells delicious. My goodness.
Mate, do you know what
All
it smells like?
Cheers. What does it smell like?
Watermelon. Oh, sorry. Watermelon. Are we gonna catch it?
Oh, mate, I'll tell you what.
Delicious.
I bet you this beats Ollie's squash that he keeps bringing in this next podcast you'll see, though, eh?
That's right.
Beats his
This
squash.
is way better. It tastes
Unreal.
like it smells. You know, most times things smell really good, but they don't taste like that. Also, remember what I was saying about the creatine, how it's not gritty? So many like EAA powders or like collagen powders just have that grittiness to it, and that just doesn't. Like, I mixed it for 5 seconds, and it's just smooth as.
Mate, I didn't even have to shake it.
You just
and
dumped
it's like
it.
that.
It just
Mate,
appeared like that. Just a quick spoon.
A little.
Yeah, you just
Oh,
dumped
mate,
it in and it
100%.
just diffused perfectly. That is delicious. So loaded EAA is obviously getting your essential amino acids in. The way I think of it, like EAAs and BCAAs, is basically just like making sure that your body is in the best possible position to recover, to grow muscle, to adapt from training. That's how I.
Who doesn't love growing muscle? Who doesn't love growing
Speaking of
muscle?
growing muscles.
Do you know what I mean? It's like Wolf of Wall Street, isn't it? It's like Wolf of Wall Street. Do you like growing muscle? Yes. Have this. Done. Transaction complete. Easy.
Transaction complete.
Big muscle time.
Yeah.
Big muscle
Speaking of
time.
Wolf of Wall Street, rookie numbers. Rookie numbers are our squat, bench, and deadlift. Who doesn't have rookie numbers is Ollie Clark, Strongman, who we've got on the podcast today. So I say let's get into it, because this was a great episode. We really hope you enjoy it. Another CNP affiliated person, a CNP athlete. So get into it. Ollie Clark, hope you enjoy it. Let's go. But without further ado, episode 28 of the Real Sports Science Podcast. I've lost track of how many guests we've had. I think I said it wrong already once before. This is I'm not sure what guest. But Ollie Clark, welcome to the podcast. First strongman on the podcast, definitely the biggest lad we've ever had on here. So that's exciting. Can barely fit on the screen, but U23 UK champion in 2020, a youngest ever strongman on Channel 5's UK Strongest Man at 19 years old, which is incredible. Also has a pet snake named Dave. First question. Why Dave?
Well, I always wanted a dog ever since I was a kid, and I always wanted to call my dog Dave, but my mum would never let me have one because she doesn't like dogs. But I was allowed a snake, so I just thought I'd call the snake Dave.
That's
Does it
hilarious.
ever
Cut your
interact
losses.
with you when you call its name?
Not quite. No, it's been.
No. Oh.
I almost took it to school once by accident. I had a rugby boot bag on my bed, and the snake was out, and it just crawled in there, and I forgot about it. But no,
That's
all good.
That would have been a
hilarious.
great little surprise.
Yeah.
Yeah, I was going to
Yeah,
say,
but
David, we won't need to put a frame round after in post edit. We won't need to put a frame round because the shoulders will just frame the screen. It'll be all right. Fits nice and
Yeah.
perfect then.
yeah, that's great. Yeah. But welcome to the podcast, Ollie. Third time's a charm. We canceled, and you had some issues, and now we're finally in, which is really exciting. But thank you so much for jumping on with us
No,
today. It'd be
thank you
great
for having me.
Yeah, really excited. It'd be great for us as well and everyone listening, just to get a kind of your background, where you've come from, kind of your entrance into strongman, and leading up to what you do now as both an athlete and a coach.
Yeah, sure. So, really, I started. It all kind of started when I was in primary school, probably about age 10, 9 or 10. I was really overweight and bullied because of it all. And then I just wanted to diet and be thin and just get rid of all the fat and stuff. So, being a kid in primary school, I had no idea on anything to do with nutrition or anything on that front. So I just thought the less I eat, the more weight I'd lose. So I would like starve myself. I do all kinds of stuff, and I ended up developing anorexia when I was like 11 or 12. Um, and from there, I saw loads of counsellors, doctors, and none of it really helped. None of it really like understood where I was coming from. And the only thing that did help was when I was 11, I was old enough to do it to join a gym. So I joined the gym, and I think the addiction kind of just went on to being progressing the weights and just being addicted to getting bigger, stronger, building muscle, and shifted it that on that front. And from there, I competed first of all when I was 13, and that was in a powerlifting competition. And at the comp, I broke a few British records at my first comp. So from there, I was just hooked, and just carried on competing very, very regularly every year from 13 to 16. Then at 16 years old, I'd um, decided to shift to strongman. So I did my first strongman competition. I think I'd literally just turned 17 the week before. And it was like a London Strongest Man novice competition. There was like 25 men. And I didn't think I'd come anywhere at all. I didn't really practice the events or anything, but I ended up winning that comp. And from there, I was just addicted to strongman. And it's kind of grown from there ever since.
I was going to say,
Imagine
lot
just
of us,
starting two
right,
competition, going
listening.
2 for 2. Going 2 for 2 in
I was going to say, a
competitions
lot of us,
in
though,
2 different sport.
Cheers.
a lot of us are going to be wondering what the records are. So what are your current, like, your 3? Deadlift, do you, like, what are the records, or what are your current 1RMs?
Yeah, so when I was 13, I think the British record that I broke was like a 100 kilogram bench.
Jesus.
But then I broke a few world records in the end when I was about 15, for the 15 and 16-year-olds. And I think that was like in the weight class it was like a 150 bench, 230, 240 squat, and like a 260 deadlift, something like that. In the weight class it was a world record at the time. I don't know if it still stands or not, but that's what it was.
That's unreal. I mean, David's shaking because you can just bench both of him right now. He's
Yeah.
lucky we're
That's
doing it online.
insane. 13 years old.
But
That's a joke.
one thing I was wondering was
you said earlier, like you had problems like where people were bullying you, and I just wanted to know that transition because obviously it's the biggest step is the hardest step, which is making that transition, starting that transition. I wanted to just understand how did you learn to like how to diet? Where did you get your inspiration or information really on how
Yes.
to transition?
So really, it just started with YouTube. Like when I was around 13, all I'd do is because I was so addicted to it, I'd just spend all my time. I wouldn't watch telly, I wouldn't play Xbox or these things that all my mates and stuff were doing. I'd just be watching YouTube videos of powerlifters, bodybuilders, strongmen, days of eating, what to eat, and just literally, I was just obsessed with that kind of content. And from there, just developing knowledge, doing a few courses in the later years, just grown from that really.
That's awesome. And then, like you also said, like mental health struggles as well. I mean, that's something that's becoming more apparent in recent years. I was wondering if there, just going back to that transition again, is there anyone that helped you along the way, or was it just pure, solely by yourself that you had to get yourself through that?
Yeah, with that kind of stuff, I was seeing lots of doctors, lots of counsellors, and they'd never really go to the problem. They'd just kind of tell me to eat more. So it didn't really ever make sense. But when I started going to the gym, I found like a new passion for getting better and getting stronger at everything, getting bigger, building muscle. So the focus just shifted really on that front. And my mum and dad paid for me to have a coach. So I was very lucky at that age because
Okay.
they was happy for me to go to the gym, but they didn't want me to injure myself or do things wrong, which a lot of people do. So I was lucky to have a coach at that age who just taught me. He was a powerlifter himself, and he taught me the technique,
Okay.
what to do, that kind of stuff.
Okay.
That
Yeah, no,
that's
because you
that's
see a
a
lot of kids that make that transition and they find it difficult. They find they don't have good information that they're using. They go to the gym and they're doing, say, max volume 6 times a week, and then their body's crumbling, their back stiff, they're basically ruining themselves by the time they turn 18 and not, fully maturing, being able to mature through, proper gym technique and everything. So it's good that you were able to have access to sort of good knowledge and someone to help you along the way. That's really good.
Yeah, 100%. I think it's key, especially when you're beginning anything, to have someone there that's done it and better than you to really make a shortcut and save you any kind of injuries or problems along the way.
Yeah, 100%.
you spoke about the struggle with eating and anorexia. And firstly, like, really appreciate you sharing that. I know that can't be easy. That couldn't have been easy going through. And it's such a, I think, a unique perspective that you don't get to hear often, because I think, eating disorders get so often um, stereotyped as something that men really don't struggle with. And so to hear someone who really struggled with that, especially at a really young age, is really unique. Um,
I appreciate it.
how how what would you say for someone, especially men who go to the gym? And I think often when you see, like, especially strong men, you think, oh, like, they don't struggle with that, like they're trying to be as big and as strong as possible, like they can eat whatever they want. What would you say to someone who was in that position, either as a young kid or maybe just starting out strongman, who's really struggling with that sense of, or that healthy relationship with food?
Um, I think it's important to find a focus and find like a goal for you to push to. Otherwise, well, for me, I find it's key to have a goal with anything because I feel like I'm just floating around and I've got no purpose otherwise. So I find it very useful with picking something, a deadline, a target, and then doing everything you can to go for that. But I think as well, it's key when these kind of people see like the strong men in the gym, like you say, a lot of the time, all of them are going through something in their mind. Like there's no reason for people to just normally wake up and think they want to get massive and super strong. Like they've often always gone through something themselves, so they're always going to be there and happy to help people that kind of looking in that way.
Hmm. I think it's just such a great reminder to, like, you never know what someone's going through or what someone's been through to be in the positions that they're at, especially when it comes to eating and guys in the gym. Like, it's so easy to throw out comments like, oh, you can eat what, oh, you're lucky because you can just eat whatever you want. And I think I think it's so easy to do, and we need to really be careful that we don't do that, because you don't know what someone's been through or what they're feeling, or maybe they really struggled that day to eat because they're struggling with that. So I think that's just such a not a cool story, but that's not the right word, but such a unique experience that I think really appreciate you sharing that, because I think a lot of people can learn from that, and to hear it from a guy who's very successful in the sport that he's doing. I think is a very unique perspective and could help a lot of people. So no, really, really appreciate that.
No,
On
thank you, mate.
on
Yeah, cheers.
on goals, you said about goals. Before we move on to coaching, let's talk you specifically, Strongman. Like, what are your goals? What are you doing this year? What are you hoping to achieve?
Yeah, so actually this weekend I've got my first comp of the year, and that's going to be the England Strongest Man qualifier for under 105s. So last year I dropped down to 105 kilogram class. I always competed as an open athlete, and I did UK Strongest Man as an open when I was younger. But I just found myself, I went the other way. So I got too heavy too quickly, and I got a lot of health effects because of that. Because I was just trying to get as big as possible and as strong as possible, and I didn't really understand that it's not all about getting as big as you can. It's about so many other things. And because of that, I got a lot of health issues. I was like 21 and a half stone when I was 18. So, and I'm not tall. I'm about 5'8". So I was massive for the size. And I struggled to breathe. I struggled to walk around. And even in bed asleep, well, trying to sleep, my resting heart rate would be like 120. So just through the roof. And it put a lot of strain on me. So I ended up getting a bit ill with that, and decided to lose the weight and just build up. So I'm trying to fill out the weight class in 105 and be as lean as possible at that cap, and then move on to the opens that way. Just gradually do it rather than going too fast, because a lot of people just go too fast and end up getting injured or having these health problems. So that's why I've brought it back down to the 105s. The goal for this year for me, I want to win England's Strongest Man under 105, and then I want a podium at Europe's Strongest Man and World's Strongest Man this year.
I mean, David, that sounds like a great opportunity for us to come and visit and watch you win that competition. Then, eh?
No,
It'll be class.
that'd be
It will be
sweet.
great to
Yeah.
support you along the way, because I mean it's just a great goal, and the fact you've determined it and you know what you want to do. And a big thing you pointed out, gradually increasing. You don't, like, you see people who are on these crazy calorie diets, and it's like people at the bodybuilding, Mr. Olympia. Everyone, like, it's funny, you think, oh, that's the best physique ever. You don't realize that is actually they're on dying. Their body's in a state where they're just panicking, alerting every sort of hormone in the body to stay alive, really.
Yeah.
And I mean, yeah, having, like Eddie Hall, the 10,000 calories a day, or diets like that, it is just puts the body. I can't even, if when I think about it, I'm under stress. Like, I start sweating myself. It's just crazy amount of food and just work and you think, like, oh, it's just, they're just building mass by eating. No, they've got to replenish the calories that they're burning, because they're doing it. I mean, I can't imagine how many training sessions you're doing, but it's just every day just pounding that body to having to replenish it, just that cycle. It's yeah, so the best way is gradually, and we could touch upon that in a later podcast. But yeah, and talking about the gradual and the way to fine tune things, like, how does sports science play into your prep, and how has interaction with sports scientists and S&C coaches shaped your times as an athlete?
Yeah, sure. So now that I've gone through that and um, kind of been a bit methodical with how I do everything, I'm very much more looking at a scientific approach of things, especially as a weight class athlete, which I think is very important. You've got to get the most out of your body in a certain cap, so it's important to do certain things. Like, for example, with log press and strongman, there's a muscle called your trap three in your back. If you go to log press and that trap three is underdeveloped, then it will send a signal to your brain that it's dangerous to put 100% power in because it's underdeveloped, and so you won't get the most out of the power that you have. So all these little things, like not even just looking at exercises, it's also looking at kind of the neurological side of things as well. has played a massive part. I've got my coach is Shane from MSC. I don't know if you know him or if you've heard of him, but he's helped massively the last few months with developing that more and more.
Yeah, and you raised a good point, talking about that trap free. It's like you've got to work on the major muscles, but you cannot forget the accessory ones or the stabilizers, because when you're hitting 100%, those are the ones that will carry you. Those are the ones that will reduce the risk of injury and just not let your body crumble down under the pressure. So yeah, it's a great point. So like, if you could give an example for us, to say, oh well, you already did, didn't you? Log press, my bad. But yeah, no, it's and a lot of people think that they can do it themselves. They can just, as you said, like you started off on YouTube, and some people won't make that progression to go, actually I need to invest, or I need to think more in terms of an elite athlete, or I need to start getting sports scientist input. And yeah, it's just as you can tell, it probably goes a massive way, doesn't it?
Yeah, 1,000%. Even like there's a one arm dumbbell press event in Strongman, and just by doing things like so many people think you've just got to hit these events, hit them hard, train them heavy. But like you say, it's so important not to neglect all of the stabilizers and all of the surrounding muscles. Like for the one arm dumbbell press, doing things like windmills is really, really important, really strengthening your hips and those kind of to get into those positions. And as well, things like mobility and stability with weights. For strongmen, it's really just becoming more of a well-rounded athlete. You've got to be mobile and you've got to have stability, because the more mobile and the more stable you can be, the better positions you can get yourself in to then be more efficient at the specific lift. So everything comes into play with it. I think it's more of a shift from being just a heavy lifter to being an actual athlete.
And then just so I can give our listeners a bit more context, a strongman day, what does a strongman day or competition look like? How many lifts would you be doing in a day? Because you also got to take in the fact, say you're giving 100% in the one arm press. What about if you got the log press next or something? Recovery would be massively key as well.
Yeah,
So I was just wondering what a day looked like.
100%. What like a training day or a competition day?
A competition day.
Yeah, so generally an average competition will have 5 events, but you do get like 2 or 3 day comps where they may have like 3 or 4 events, and then the next day you're competing, and the next day. But all in all, for the most part, it's generally a 5 competition event, and it depends. Sometimes it's a really quick turnaround, so you'll go from event to event maybe in 20 minutes, half an hour, whereas sometimes you're waiting around for 2 hours for the next event. So it's very specific to the day that you have to judge by how you feel and how you push, because so many people have these long day events. They'll go mad on the first one and they'll be like walking around like their adrenaline pumping, they're super nervous, and then they're burnt out by the time they go to the next event. So you've got to learn to really control your nerves on the day, and really kind of get into the other nervous system, rest, recover, and then amp yourself up ready for the next one. Just so you're not super, super up here, charged all the time, and then just drained, ready for the next one, like I said.
And then just like I was seeing like a 1 day competition in your personal experience. How does that compare with a 2 to 3 day competition? Obviously, there's it's split out more, but like mentally, is that 1 day tougher or is that 2 to 3 day tougher? Because you're looking at the mental side and then the physiological side. You need both to be firing at the same time. But 2 to 3 days, it's like bringing it, longing it out so much more.
Yeah.
So I just wanted your personal experience.
Yeah, for me, I prefer the 1 day competitions just because you can get in, focus, and just smash it all out. Whereas obviously you got to realize that when you're competing, same with any sport, your sleep's going to be affected through like the week before, even because you're thinking about it and you're worrying about it, or you're excited for it, whatever it is. But where you've got like a 3 day comp, I find the I struggle to sleep and I'm too anxious. I just want to get it done and I just want to do it. So where it's dragged out for all them days, it's quite hard on the mental side of things to just really remember to relax and take yourself down, and then amp yourself up when you need to. So yeah, for me, I prefer the 1 days all day.
Yeah. And then do the training recovery modalities you use differ? Sorry. So say in that 1 day, how would you, just to give like people some examples, in that 1 day, how would you recover? And then in those 2 to 3 days competitions, how would you recover from then? If you could just touch upon them.
What do you mean, like from a training perspective, or from like a on the actual competition day perspective?
on the actual competition, like how would you recover after, say, during that one day? How would you recover after one sort of lift, and then to the next one in an hour's time or however long it is?
Yeah, I like to kind of find a little corner or something and just be alone and calm. A lot of people like to just joke around with everyone, and that works for people. But I like to just put my headphones on, put my music on, amp myself up when it's time to, and then just calm down, chill, speak to you'll have a few people around you, like your family or your training partners. Just speak to them, and also getting the fuel in is important too. So just making sure you keep grazing throughout the day and making sure you're hydrated throughout the day, because especially with things like cramp coming in, and you can then risk tearing something as well. So it's important to make sure your hydration, your electrolyte levels, everything's on point throughout that day. And then when it comes to like a 3 day comp, really as soon as that last event's done, it's about getting back, getting to bed and relaxing really, and then just
Yeah.
when you're wrecked after a comp, it's pretty easy to fall asleep.
And just sorry, David. It's when you're coming after that one, those 2 to 3 day comps, and you have to get to sleep. Are there any like tips or tricks that you use? Because I mean, I know that Andrew Huberman's popping up now massively on social media with his like sort of research in sleep and his modalities that he uses and talks about. I was wondering if you had any tricks when you're struggling to get to sleep.
To be honest, I don't personally have any kind of tricks or tips. I like to take CBD oil, and I also like to take ZMA tablets. I find they really help me with sleep. But other than that, I've not really tried any or used any. I've not really found the need to yet. But it'd be interesting to see
Yeah.
some of those.
To be fair, yeah, I mean, like one of the things he says as well is that don't force it. If what you got now is working for you, there's no need to change it just because some science says something. If it's working, it's working.
Sure.
Don't break something if it's not. Don't fix something if it's not broken.
Yeah.
There you go.
Yeah.
Got there in the end.
Well, here's a question: Do you ice bath in competitions?
I personally don't ice bath. No, no. I know there's a lot of research and a lot of people do like it, but a lot of research does also say that it actually slows down recovery. A lot of stuff that I've read says that it slows down recovery. It builds up a lot of extra inflammation as well. I know it does make you feel good though, and I think there's a kind of a fine line between what science says and how you feel. You can kind of tread on that a little bit, but I personally don't like ice baths. I do like saunas though. I find saunas are really, really helpful, and also for long term with blood
Yeah.
pressure, there's so much data out there now showing how it really, really helps you in the long term.
Yeah. Life goal
Oh,
is to like have
100%.
a sauna in the backyard. That'd be incredible.
Oh yeah, 100.
Yeah, sauna in the backyard for David. Free courtside tickets to hockey. What else is in this dream world of yours, David?
Courtside. That's
Courtside.
basketball,
What's it
man.
called? Ringside.
Ringside.
Sorry,
That's
massive fan. I don't know if you can tell. Been following hockey for years now.
For years, yeah. It's great because you have so much experience, obviously being an athlete, and I think like probably because you've been an athlete for years now, the things that you do are just so second nature that you don't even realize that you have unbelievable tips. But you coach as well, and all of those tips, I'm sure your athletes just seep in that knowledge that you get to bring them. But over the years, if you've coached and as you've kind of grown into your coaching, what would you say are like the top, kind of three? Well, don't need to put a number on it, but a few of kind of your most important values as a coach that you take into every client.
Yeah, sure. I would say number one is always consistency trumps everything. So I would rather someone that trains like, well, consistency with everything like diet, training, recovery is the person that can be the most consistent with it will generally be the person that does the best. That's what I always have found. Another thing is the importance of nutrition and the importance of recovery. When you train, even more so, I feel with strongman and powerlifting. Well, with every single sport, nutrition's super, super, super important. I'm probably biased, but I feel like it's even more so important when you're trying to grow and gain muscle as well, and you're trying to be at peak performance in strongman and powerlifting. So I would say number two is always making sure your nutrition is on point, as well as hydration. And like I said, recovering too. So you're not wrecking. You don't need. For me, I say you don't really need to train more than 4 days a week at all. Even 3 or 4 days is ample. People go in there and they try and wreck themselves. Like you said before, a lot of people that don't know what to do will just go in and try and max out every week, just burn their nervous system to the ground, and then wonder why they're getting weaker instead of getting stronger. So, making sure you're recovering and not pushing too hard always is another key, as well as deloading. Deloading is important. So, having specific periods of time where you're lowering the volume or the intensity to allow you to progress at a linear rate rather than keep just getting here and then kind of stagnating. Pull yourself back a bit so you
Mm,
can then push forward again.
mm. What
I
would you
think
say to
one thing you said.
athletes? Sorry, I got one thing. What would you say to athletes who don't like deloading? Because that's a big like telling an athlete to take it easy in the gym is probably harder than trying to get your mom to say to let you have a dog instead of a snake. Uh, what
Yeah.
what would you? How do you deal with that? And what do you say to athletes who don't want to deload?
Um, with with the team of guys I train, they quite like it how I'm quite regimented with them, and I just tell it how it is, and I'll just say, if you don't deload, you're going to end up going backwards. You're going to burn yourself out, and you're going to get weaker. And because obviously their priority in their head, they want to get as strong as possible. The idea of getting weaker because of not doing something is horrible for them. So I kind of put it in that way, and then also I'll show them too. So if they really struggle against it, maybe if they're a beginner too, maybe I'll let them carry on training for a week or two. They'll feel more and more fatigued and feel more and more running to the ground, and then it'll kind of force them into deloading and them actually understanding they have to deload and it's an important part of everything.
And just going back, I remember like when you were describing earlier about the sort of just people keep pushing their central nervous system, just the body's like going through so much stress, like that GAS, the general adaptive system or syndrome, where you're putting your body through so much stress. If you're not allowing that body to adapt to that first initial stress you're giving it, you're just gonna, as you said, fry. Your limbs are gonna be, you're not never gonna be able to grow. And you look at yourself, as you said, while you're wondering, not growing or getting stronger, any of your goals aren't being reached, just because you're running yourself to the ground. And deload weeks are massive as well. You need to, once again, just, even though you've allowed it to recover, you just can't keep doing the same thing. You need to just taper it down, relax, and then reset for that next week.
100%.
Um,
It's like an injury prevention thing as well, because if you're battering your tendons and your ligaments, and if those muscles are getting tighter and tighter because of things, they're going to be on the edge of tearing, or anything could happen. So it's another thing of injury prevention too.
Have you seen your coaching style change as you've done? How long have you coached for now? Yeah, before I ask
Um,
that question.
I've coached for 4 years now.
Okay. So and how have you seen your coaching style change? Have you seen it change, or do you think you've kind of stayed consistent? What are kind of the things that you've learned as you've gone through the past 4 years of coaching?
Yeah, I'd say the main thing is about individual differences and being everyone's different, right? So you've got to kind of sometimes change your style depending on how the person is and what the person likes to do and how the person likes to train, as well as their lifting experience too. So obviously you're not going to train a beginner the same you're going to train someone who's trained for 10, 20 years. Um, it's about also understanding the individual's goal, because a lot of people want to get into the sport of powerlifting and strongman just for a bit of fun and as a hobby, and they don't want to become the world's strongest man, or they don't have these crazy goals. So it's about still making it fun for them and still allowing a bit of variation here and there, and letting them enjoy it really.
Hmm. That's so great. Yeah, that kind of comes back to the consistency part. I loved how you said that because so many people, especially like New Year's or when they start in a gym, they're like, "Yeah, I'm going to go, and I'm going to go from doing nothing to 6 times a day." But that makes no sense. Like if you couldn't do it, you failed so many, and now you want to go from 0 to 6 times a day. That doesn't make any sense. So like just that consistency part, I think is huge, and it's just so many people get caught up in that. I think, and I guess for people who aren't used to the gym, it's difficult to understand that. Like what you said, like 3 4 days is enough. Like I'd rather you train 2 times a day or 2 times a day. I'd rather you train 2 times a week for years than like go through spurts of training more than that, but only like last 2 weeks at a time. So
Yeah, 100%. It's all
yeah,
about being realistic.
yeah, exactly. Yeah,
And I think we said it, didn't we, David, in around Christmas, didn't we, about just even though it's Christmas coming up, don't stray away. Just don't be like, oh, 2 weeks off. Hello, Christmas time. I'm just going to leave the gym. And then when you get back to the gym, you always hear people say, oh, I'm so much weaker. And then you're looking around like, well, who would have thought that? All these years of training, and you thought you would have noticed that by now. So yeah, consistency is so key, and you can even see it as in as simple as something as sleep. There's been studies where they found if you're sleeping, say, 6 hours one night, 9 hours the next night, 7 hours there, you're all over the place and it's not beneficial at all. If you just slept 6 hours all the nights, that would be so much better. And you can apply that with everything in life. So it's good that you're telling your clients how it is, because a lot of coaches will just be like, even PTs will just be like, oh yeah, you're looking good, you're hitting that goal, don't worry. And they're just getting money on the side, or they're not all there, like they're not all there for their client really. And honesty is such a key thing we're seeing from any different type of coach or even relationship with anyone really, teammate, you're coaching them or you're the athlete. You've got to be honest. It goes so much more down the line, and you'll be able to just get better in the future. So much more beneficial.
1000%.
So what's your favorite? This is just a total side question. What's your favorite strongman event or lift to train people? So eventually we want to do something where Matt and I come down, you put us through the paces of strongman. What are you teaching us first? How
I would probably say the log press is quite an iconic event. No other sport really does it. Yeah, I would say the log press would be a good one.
I've
Yeah.
seen it. Do you
Yeah.
follow? Do you follow a guy on Instagram, Valkyrie Performance or something like that?
Not 100% sure. I'm not totally.
He I used to follow him, so he used to do stuff with Harlequins, I think S&C, but he's getting into strongman, or he has been for a while now. But yeah, he does like even the farmer carries with that thing that goes over your back. Oh, that looks fun. I can tell you that I'll be enjoying that if we ever do it. But and then another, David, on top of your side question, I've got another one.
Come
Yeah.
on.
You've been drinking stuff during the show. I was just wondering, what are you drinking?
Oh, that's it's just squash because
Oh, fair, fair. I thought some
Nice.
elite performance, just some
yeah.
great stuff.
Yeah. That's what I was like. Oh, for sure, smoothie or something mad.
Yeah,
No, I just,
all
I'm
the
not gonna
fruit
lie. I
booster
saw it as
shots,
well.
BCAAs.
yeah, I don't
I'm not gonna
drink
lie.
so
I saw it. I was like, that looks hella fresh.
yeah yeah. No, I drink so much water and it's horrible just drinking water constantly all day. So I have to have cherries and berries in everything.
I think we can all stand
Cherries
with
and
you there,
berries.
right?
yeah.
Yeah, yeah. Honestly. Oh,
And then
what do you think? Do you drink coffee? Do you drink coffee?
Yeah, I drink coffee. Yeah, I probably drink too much.
There's been a massive thing going around lately of like hydrate before you caffeinate, and I haven't read too much into it, but it's like everyone posts stories of them chugging a glass of water before before they drink coffee, and it's driving me nuts. No one wants to see you drink a gallon of water in the morning.
Oh God, no.
that's too good, isn't it? That's what the world is nowadays, though, isn't it?
Yeah.
Some new trend, and then they have to just go through the roof with it and exaggerate
Ev-
it. Just
I
have a
know.
little glass of water, nah,
yeah.
gallon. Easy.
Yeah.
yeah,
Yeah.
yeah.
This is when we go on Ollie's story on Instagram and see that he's just posted that with his cherries
bottles
and
of
berries.
Or the milk carton with the squash inside.
yeah,
Have you seen those? That's
Yeah,
proper
yeah.
old school.
yeah,
Yeah, love it.
Yeah.
Love it.
Uh,
But yeah, trying to go back just before, like, just towards the end of this, I was just wondering, like, what advice would you give for people that are trying to become strongmen or young coaches at the start of their career as well? So we'll start with becoming a strongman.
yeah. But the thing with becoming a strongman, I would say, is just enjoy it and focus on enjoying your training, having fun, learning the events. Because the strongman community is great because you get so many people around you. Nobody cares what your ability is. Everyone will just help and cheer on everyone because everyone just wants to see you hit PBs, and everyone knows what that feels like when you've hit a PB. So that's what is encouraged. So actually enjoying strongman days, getting down to a strongman gym and getting involved with the atmosphere, and then just focus on consistently progressing over years and years. That's what I would say would be the biggest key.